lesson on past versus present. This is first grade lesson on the sixth standard of Alabama course of study for social studies. This lesson deals with the past and present and how we are different from the now than we were in our past. This is a huge lesson, but today we're going to focus on communication and recreation features of our past and our present. We're going to begin with our sparking question. This is our question of the day that gets our thoughts rolling for our group discussion and also for our lesson as a whole. Today's question is, how is the world different now than it was long ago? The question will allow students to think about their thoughts, and we will take time to discuss this as a group and get our ideas rolling as we begin this new lesson. After time passes, students will be asked to give a response to the question. Responses will be recorded on a large sticky note, and the sticky note will be saved for the remainder of the lesson. That way, at the end of the lesson, we can do a full circle review of the material and see if students' thoughts or ideas changed from the beginning of the lesson to the end. Some vocabulary that is associated with our lesson today is compare. Compare means to take things and kind of look at them and find ways that they're similar. Next, we have past. When we're talking about past here, we're talking about already happened, no longer happening, or even when you consider past, it means already gone. And in the present form we're talking about in this lesson means happening now, something we do now, or things that are still occurring. All three of these vocabulary words will play a huge role in the lesson today and will really shape the whole content. We will now watch a past and present video as a class. The video takes things from long ago and compares them to how we do things now. For example, in the video, it talks about how people would travel by horseback to whereas now we travel in cars on fully structured roads. Students will watch the video and group discussion will occur after, asking students to provide examples of things from the video that were from long ago in comparison to now. Students will take time to discuss what communication is, and examples of this we have. For communication in the past, people would write letters. Imagine having to tell someone something and you had to write them a letter. You would have to wait for them to get the letter, wait for them to read it, allow them to write you back, and then them send a letter back to you. This could take days or even weeks. That is the past. But in the present, we have iPhones or any other kind of phone really, and this phone can instantly send what we need to tell someone in the matter of seconds. We can hear a response from someone quicker than we can imagine. Imagine if we had to write letters today. We would be very impatient if we had to do this. This is a huge comparison of our past and our present in our form of communication. We're also going to talk about recreation. When we talk about recreation, we are talking about things that provide us enjoyment. Today's is geared towards first graders and like you guys. In the past, things that kids would play with would be jump ropes, marbles, drawing a hopscotch on the ground. But in today's present recreation, we think of iPads, computer gaming, video games, playing on our iPhones. We think of more technology-based or even more expanded forms of recreation, where in the past, they had very limited stuff. A rope, a hopscotch drawn with chalk, even 4 or 5 marbles were seen as fun to some kids. This is a huge difference in our past and our present. Now, I'd like for each of us to go to the rug. We're going to take a little time to do a little hands-on activity with our lesson. The lesson will be continued through the interactive show and tell. Students will be given a variety of objects that relate to past and present, and they will be able to hold them in their hands, and we will discuss each one and how it's changed from our past to our present. For example, I will start with the envelope. Students will see the envelope, get to pass it around, see the stamp, see the letter inside, and we will talk about how we had to communicate with our letters. We will then pull out an iPhone, and I will show students how I can quickly get the same message to another teacher in our school in a matter of seconds, in comparison to how normally in the past they had to write a letter and wait for a response. The same thing will be done with recreation. Students will be shown a jump rope or either a thing of marbles. We will discuss them. Each student will get to hold them and feel them, and then we will bring out a video game controller or an iPad, and we will talk about how this is our new form of recreation. We will then transition to our desk to start our activity called Letter Buddies. Students will be given a piece of paper, an envelope, and a stamp. They will also be able to pick one person in the class to write a letter to. Once the student has wrote the letter, they will then give their letter to me, the teacher, and I will be in charge of distributing them. I will wait a few days before distributing them to allow students to feel what it feels like to have to wait for a response. In the letter, students will include a summary of what we have learned in our lesson today, and they will expect their buddy to tell them the same thing. Students will be asked to wait to get a response, which will cause them to really feel how it felt in the past to communicate. After all the letters are wrote, we will then move to our wrap-up activity. Students will be given an individual worksheet, and this worksheet will be used to serve as an assessment for the teacher. Students will cut out the materials at the bottom and they will have to sort them correctly on the T-chart through past or present. The teacher will use this as a form to assess how well the student understands the past and present principle and how if this lesson needs to be reviewed or if this lesson is accomplished then we can move on. The lesson will be wrapped up with a little bit of group discussion and then we will move into continuing on to our next subject. This lesson is very interactive. Students will be included from all cultures, all backgrounds, and all types. For ELL students, there will be the printed PowerPoint, printed directions on all assignments, and the material can be read if needed. For students with IEPs, there will be read material, there will be reduced wrap-up activity, and there will also be prompted discussion. I will ask them a question that's a lot simpler when it comes to group discussion for them to prompt back to me. If the student also needs resource time, that will be available throughout the entire lesson if needed. The culture is addressed from all the different views in our lesson. When students express their views on the question of the day, the video, they are welcome to be diverse and express their feelings. We're also talking about a variety of cultural things throughout this lesson that covers our cultural diversity. The differentiated instruction for student interactions comes from the students being interactive the entire lesson. Students begin the lesson with interactive discussion. We move to interactive group time at the rug. We move to interactive buddy writing assessment, but we end up with an independent assessment form of the wrap-up for teachers to review the material. The reading and historical information are used throughout the lesson as a way to draw students in through allowing them to read, but also teaching them of this historical lesson. And then through this lesson, we've also included other subject areas such as reading, writing, and spelling. Students are asked to read material off the board. Students are asked to write a response to their buddy, and students are asked to spell correctly in their writing letter. Students are also asked to exhibit skills of their cutting and pasting, their sorting skills, and their organizing skills. This lesson covers a variety of skills